With the latest update to No Rest for the Wicked titled The Breach Refined, I thought this would be a really good opportunity to sit down and put out my review, having played just north of 200 hours in this game so far. And that's what we're going to do in this video. Before we do that, I do want to say special thank you to the 356 of you guys who've hit that subscribe button on the channel in the last 28 days, but also to Trip, Robert, and William for hitting that join button, becoming members here on the channel. Your support means the world to me. But let's dive in, because I joke that my 200 hours might not seem like a lot to some of the players in this community, because there are some absolute massive amount of hours that some of the players in the community have that are much, much higher than 200. But I also say, as a father of 6, putting this many hours, I do hope it actually highlights just how amazing this game is and how much I love playing it. But I'd also be remiss not to highlight the fact that services like GeForce Now, allowing me to stream this game to my handhelds and to my Xbox, plays a large part in the fact that I can put that much time into this game, because it allows me to hang out with my kids and not be locked into some gaming PC off in the office somewhere. So I enjoy that freedom is a part of this game and this experience for me. But that's also something I wanted to touch on, because while this game isn't rated for kids, the elements of this game I find honestly are just fine for them being in the room and me playing around them. This is something where maybe something like Final Fantasy 16 isn't a game that I would play around my kids, because the gratuitous use of the F-bomb throughout the entire story of it, while as an adult doesn't bother me, that's something that I want to kind of separate from their experience, where in this it's mostly gameplay focused and a little bit more violent, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't find some joy and hang out with their dad while he plays a video game. Now, I want to break this down into 4 categories: gameplay, music, graphics, and future potential. Being that this is an early access game, and we're going to touch on the price here later in this section, I think that ends up being something hopefully that you're going to find very valuable. And the reason why I want to touch on these 4 elements, as well as the main element being gameplay, is I think these are what make for well-rounded games. If you are a fan of RPGs, Souls-likes, Diablos, Path of Exiles, I think you're going to fit right at home with what I'm going to share with you guys in this video. However, if you're more into that kind of movie-based approach to game design, we've seen that with the likes of several games over the course of the last 10 years, you might not necessarily resonate with that. So you just understand what kind of gamer are you, and that will help you kind of take this review and put it to action, whether you do decide to buy it or you do decide to wait and hold off. But again, let's start with gameplay, because this is what I always define as the most crucial element to any video game out there. The gameplay of this does everything that I wish that Diablo 4 had done before. Diablo 4 has obviously gone in its direction. Diablo 3 and 2 and all that, I have a lot of fond memories of playing all of those various different games. No Rest for the Wicked really does feel like that evolution of the ARPG genre, bringing it more into what I am looking for as a player, and that is skill-based. The combat actually feels more like a fighting game than it does like what you would expect from something like Diablo 4 or maybe even Path of Exile 2, even though I think Path of Exile 2 also is a top tier game and I really have enjoyed playing it, and I hope to continue to play more of that game in the future. However, I'm hopelessly addicted to what No Rest for the Wicked offers. Now, let's also be clear, I'm not a parry master. In fact, I joke that parrying is kind of is going to be a death knell. It's something I need to practice, and so I don't ever parry in a hardcore run. I keep those to kind of practicing whenever my characters eventually meet their doom. And that's where some of the, like, I guess, understandable feedback come in, with various jokes about fall damage being the #1 killer of all of the No Rest for the Wicked, which ends up feeling quite true. But they have, with the latest update, made these changes. And I think that's an important aspect, is that with the introduction of the latest update, they've added in realm tier difficulty. So if you're somebody who really kind of wants that more storied approach, doesn't want necessarily to struggle as hard on a specific boss or have to go do rounds of farming to be able to get the materials so you can craft the food so you can survive, all of that is actually now being brought into the game in the form of realm tiers, which will evolve at some point in the future into custom realms, which I think is going to be a real exciting time, because that will allow various different rule sets to kind of boil up in the community to really kind of present the most interesting challenges, but also the most silly and kind of absurd ways you can play the game. I think to like things like Enshrouded and Power World, where you can really kind of tweak a lot of your experience. And I think it ends up being a really interesting and fun time all around. Now, outside of gameplay, because again, this is your action RPG, it is that more of a fighting game, and we know things are coming in the future, and that's why future potential is the fourth category, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I want to touch on the music. The only critique that I had was the music would fade out, especially when streaming. The devs have been working to address this very feature, and I'm very excited to see that they're going to be working on that. And that's one of the things I really appreciate, is just how amazing the music and sound of this game is. Honestly, the voice acting as well, if we just kind of, categorize all of the audio of this game, it feels like a AAA kind of experience. I like how they do the voice acting. I like how the music's all coming together. I like just how alive the world feels and that level of attention to detail. It's immersive by every means of the definition immersive. It really kind of brings it all in front and center, and I really do appreciate it. Graphics, on the other hand, was something a little bit interesting and a journey for me specifically, namely how the main character, your character, when you go to the character creation, kind of looks at first. It looks deformed. It looks a little bit strange. However, all of that is with purpose, and when it is brought into actually playing the game, it feels and looks absolutely masterful. It's a beautiful experience, but it did, for me personally, take me a little bit of adjustment to kind of get used to. But the world, the atmosphere, all of it, I think, is absolutely top tier, and I can't wait to see even more of the zones as they get brought in to the game in its future. And this brings me to number 4, the future potential of this game. Like I said, it's an early access game. I do want to highlight, though, that it is on sale at the time of this recording, and there will be more sales in the future. So if you miss the opportunity to pick up the game here before July the 10th here in 2025, note there will be future updates, and we will continue to cover the game for you here, giving you guys the latest updates, guides, and more, because I think this game really is worth it. Like, it is such a fun experience that I highlight that for you. So just note that whether you're on the fence or you're not on, whether you want to jump in or you don't want to jump in, this might be the lowest price you'll be able to do it, because the devs have said that when the game hits its full release, the price, in fact, actually will go up. And even still at $40, I feel the game is a steal. And we are going to continue to give away copies of this game to the community on our live streams, namely because I want to help more people get into No Rest for the Wicked as much as possible. Now, like I said, this section is on future potential. We know multiplayer is coming, and that's usually going to be the question. Consoles are coming. Consoles will be coming with 1.0, with the full release of the game. And honestly, right now, I wouldn't put that anywhere sooner than 2026, with the option that it might slip even further, depending on just the sheer amount of things that they want to put in. The team is roughly 90 people, which isn't small, but it isn't a massive team as well, which honestly I think gives them a real competitive advantage, because we've seen massive budgets, massive teams lead more to failure than to success. And so their ability to have enough staff to be able to get this rocking and rolling, while at the same time not having insane amounts of cost, I think are very helpful. They are self-publishing the game, and I think one of the things when it's all said and done is the devs are actively listening, and I think no better example of that is with The Breach Refined, the latest update to be out at the time of this recording. As more updates flow out, we'll probably do future review videos and breakdowns as well for you guys to kind of see and go along the journey to ultimately decide when to jump back into the game, because based off of your personality as a video game enjoyer, I find that really there are kind of two categories when it comes to early access games. There's those who really are like, yeah, I'm fine with waiting and playing and waiting for the next update and going and playing other things. And then those who said, hey, I spent the money, I want the full experience. And while I don't agree with the second group of this, I know that they do exist, and I honestly would say that feeling, I can understand that you've spent money on it. So if you find yourself in that second category, save yourself a lot of frustration and either just pick the game up on sale and then wait to play it until it's fully released, or just hold off and wait till the game's fully released. That way you don't find yourself in a world where it turns out you didn't like the thing you didn't like. makes sense to me. With what devs have shared with the co-op update, with the Sacrament update, with the Combat 2.0, and what I call the job system, and it's nice to see Thomas also calling it the job system, even though I think they'll probably call it the class system when it's fully released. There is so much to be excited about, not only with new zones, but also the story. I think we are at the start of a very, very long and beautiful experience, especially when it comes to gaming, and I highly, highly recommend it to each and every one of you guys out there listening to these words. If you haven't picked it up already, do yourself a favor, give it a shot, and then take a break when you need to take a break. If you're waiting for the co-op update, chances are, based off of time, there might be another sale around that same kind of time for the game in and of itself, so you can figure to jump in at that point, especially with you and your friends. I think that's going to end up being a really great experience. And as we see more and more of what this game in the future holds, I think it is one of the, I guess, most exciting games that we have coming down the pipeline. There are some obviously exceptions. There are some other exciting games that I'm personally really looking forward to, like Crimson Desert and a handful of others, and I look forward to sharing those journeys with each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you got something good out of this video. If you have questions about the game, sound off in the comments below. I'm currently working on building out new guides as well. So all that being said, I wish you all the very best. Thanks for listening, and hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.
Konami code for diapers, faith unlocked. Mana's low, but coffee stocked. Lag in the living room, chaos in sight, but we're grinding XP through the sleepless nights. Gingerbread, hit that start. Catholic heart with the game.